Picture this scene, if you would. Place yourself in my shoes. I stand alone. The surrounding fields are vast and sparse. Oceans of sickly, yellow grass ripple in the breeze. Waves roll across them and out over the gentle hills, shimmering towards the horizon in all directions. It comes up to about knee height, this grass, and there is little else. Above the rolling grass is the evening sky, gray tinted with purple, and its clouds are dark and cold as they rumble slowly by overhead. My bike rests against a section of broken fence just behind me. Dust swirls about my shoes. I'm still wearing my work clothes. My tie blows out to the side, and I make no effort to try and straighten it. It's cold, but I do not shiver. And ahead, about 20 or so paces into the field and fixed in the center of my vision, stands the tree. Like myself, it is alone. It towers up above, the trunk twisting slightly around before branching out in all directions. The leaves are thick and they rustle and shine. The rungs that my friends and I once hammered into the side are still there, though many are in the process of being absorbed and swallowed by the expanding trunk. The treehouse itself, if any part of it has survived all these years, is hidden. I reach into my pocket and withdraw the note I have stashed there, the contract, and I read it over. I hereby promise that if we are both unmarried by our 30th birthday, then we shall marry each other. This is a binding contract. The agreement and ceremony will take place beneath the treehouse at 7 p.m. on the day of our birthday. Signed, Thomas Evans and Lauren Bright. Lauren and I have the same birthday, you see. It was always a running joke that we would get married. We made and signed this note when we turned 11, and today is my 30th birthday. Our 30th birthday. So I guess I'm here to fulfill my end of the deal. I fold the paper up and return it to my pocket, and with a sad sigh, I push forwards, making my way through the grass as I approach the great tree. The wind blows in my ears. There are a series of hearts carved into the trunk, hearts that have survived the years. Some are cruder than others, but there must be about a dozen in total. I count them. Yes, a dozen hearts. They're all ancient, you can tell just by looking at them. Most of them have initials inside. S+R, J+J, etc. But one of these hearts has only a single initial inside. It reads L+. This was our heart. I never did add my own initial. I was too shy, too self-conscious. I played along with all the marriage jokes, sure. I signed the contract, but the carving of this heart was too much, too personal, too real. And so my 11-year-old self laughed the moment away, acutely aware of the hurt in Lauren's expression, but pretending not to notice. I waver where I stand. Perhaps coming here tonight was a mistake. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I always knew this day was going to be difficult. I don't really know why I came here, to be honest. Maybe for some hope at closure, I guess. For something. I've long since given up on a normal life. My memories haunt me, and I dare say they always will. I look back up to the treetop. The greenish rungs of the ladder disappear into a cloud of leaves overhead. I close my eyes as the breeze blows past my skin. I remember my little groups of friends, the 5 of us. We would cycle here all the time, back when our houses were all within distance. I live across the country now, but it's nice to know that the tree still stands. I remember the adventures we used to have, the ideas and plans we'd plot up right here in this treehouse, the games we'd run and the stories we'd make up, together. Lauren and myself, Jake, Jasmine, and Wooly, the gang. All gone now, of course. All dead. All except for myself. Our time together runs like a river through my head. I see myself with them all. I see our greatest shared memories. I remember the construction of this treehouse. We didn't have the internet to guide us back then, so we copied instructions from an old magazine. I remember Jake hammering into one of his fingers and using a swear word we hadn't heard before. We thought we were going to get in trouble when a farmer rolled by in his loud and angry tractor, so we hid ourselves up in the leaves, giggling quietly and pretending to shoot it as he passed us by. The memory blurs into the next. I remember our school trip to the city's science museum. It was themed around the 4 classical elements: fire, water, earth, and air. The teachers allowed us to work as a group, and we explored that place from top to bottom. Different colored flames reacted to various metals, huge water cylinders, and cyclone displays. There was an earthquake simulator, I remember. Jasmine was terrified, but I convinced her to join us. There was a wind tunnel and miniature lightning. The memories drift to another. We're standing in front of the school, the night of the summer performance. We're all terrified, of course. Beneath the watchful eyes, everyone is watching us, judging us. I remember stumbling one of my lines, faltering, but Wooly was on stage too. He kept us going without skipping a beat. I don't think anyone even noticed. And once it was over, the elation, the celebration, we had never felt so powerful. I remember our first trip abroad. Lauren's parents allowed us to all join them. We were so lucky, visiting a foreign country together, and at such a young age. There was a water park there. It was incredible. We got shouted at by some lifeguard, but of course we couldn't understand a word he was saying, so we simply ran away, laughing and splashing. And I remember the night of November 5th, bonfire night, the fireworks exploding overhead, red and green and gold, the warmth of the great burning bonfire and the drifting embers. Jake and Jasmine and Wooly firing off sparklers, and once it was over, that night, back at Jake's house, that's where Lauren and I had our first kiss. Our only kiss, as it happened. The memories sting. I open my eyes and wipe a hand across them. The leaves rustle in the rising wind, and the waves roll out across the grass. I cannot change the past. I reach into my other pocket and I draw from it a small carving knife. Stepping a little closer to the tree, I rest one hand on the cool, rough bark, and with the other, I finish the decades-old inscription. I complete it, the way it was always meant to be completed. I cut away at the wood until the heart reads L+T, and then I sheath the blade and step back. I'm not some deranged lunatic, by the way, just for your own peace of mind. I'm not some grown man in love with the ghost of a dead kid. I loved Lauren, sure, but in the same way that I loved the others, that I loved all of them. I just could have done better by her back then, that's all. And this carving is as much an apology to her as it is a favor to my 11-year-old self. I'm sorry, Lauren, I say, my words quickly disappearing into the wind. I'm sorry for the heartache I caused you. I reach into my pocket for another look at the note. My hand trembles and I collapse to my knees, stricken with a deep and sudden ache, a pain in my heart that has kindled across the years. I'm sorry, I force out. I'm so sorry. What are you sorry for, stupid? Comes a voice that I would recognize at the ends of the earth. My sorrow is shocked to oblivion as I snap my head up to look at the voice's source. Above me in the tree and peeking through the leaves is Lauren. I stare up at her, terrified and unable to move. Lauren? I manage at last, choking on my words. She looks just as she did, still wearing that same pink hoodie. She kicks her legs idly against the truck, watching me expectantly. Well, she says, sticking out her tongue, are you coming or not? And she suddenly lifts up her arms, grabbing something out of sight and hoisting herself into the leaves, vanishing with a rustle. Wait! I scream, throwing out a hand, and before I know it, I'm scrambling up the tree behind her. My foot slips off the second rung. Too much of it has been swallowed by the trunk. I try again, forearms strained as I grab to what I can, hauling myself up the side of the mighty tree, heart racing. I'm losing my mind, I think, as the wind barrels against me. I'm losing my mind. But I don't stop climbing. Up I go, ascending into the leaves. But the ladder keeps going. I look all around through the branches, but all I can see is a world of rustling green. Lauren! I shout, desperately. Wait! Where are you? I hear her giggles up ahead. I crane my neck to see her disappear through another cluster of leaves. So up I climb, higher and higher through this ancient tree. We never built it this high. We couldn't have. We were just kids. But it certainly feels high now as I force my way up. I glance below, but I cannot see the bottom anymore. I'm fully enveloped in the green of the tree. Twigs snap against my arms, against my face as I keep pushing through, until at last, the ladder comes to an end. I haul myself up onto the platform, and catching my breath, I look all around. Our treehouse had always been impressive. We'd worked hard on it, and it was a real labor of love. But this is something else. The platform I find myself on is colossal. Leaves and branches wind their way around wooden pillars and arches. I stare in bewilderment at rope bridges extending away through an impossible treetop canopy onto other platforms and levels in the leaves. On the opposite wall, where I remember carving my name along with the others, where I remember 5, not quite in line names scrawled in quick letters, there are now only works of art. The names are there, sure, but they are intricate, carved with care, beautiful and dramatic. They'd be better placed in a museum or a cathedral. But my eyes are drawn now to the owners of these names, because there they stand, all around me, just as I remember them. Jake, Jasmine, Wooly, and Lauren. Jake has his arms crossed, an eyebrow raised. Jasmine has her hands behind her back. Wooly has his thumbs hooked into the straps of his backpack, and Lauren has her hands on her hips. "What took you so long, Tommy?" she asks. I fumble for words, stuttering and spluttering, and she laughs. Wooly holds out a hand to me. "We've been waiting for you, bro," he says with a grin. "Guys," I begin. How did..." But Jasmine interrupts. "There'll be time for questions later, Tommy. We need you." "You need me?" Wooly's hand is still extended towards me. He waves it. "Of course we do, Tommy. The treehouse is under attack. Now come on, soldier. Get up." I reach for his hand, and I realize that they are the same size. My hand and Wooly's. His grip tights and pulls me up to my feet, and I find that we are all the same height. I look down. My shirt, tie, my work shoes, all replaced with the clothes I wore as a kid. My battered jeans with the hole in the knee, my blue jacket. "I don't understand," I whisper, looking between their faces, the faces of my ghosts. "What more is there to understand?" Lauren asks, reaching out and squeezing my arm. "This is our treehouse, Tommy, and we won't let the enemy take it from us." A grin spreads out across her face. "Come on!" And with that, she leads us away through one of the arches. Wooly follows, raising his fist with a battle cry, and Jake and Jasmine follow. Jasmine looks back at me. "Tommy, come on!" And so I do. I stumble after them, and together we run through the treetop complex, beneath arches and over the bridges, the wood clacking as we race from platform to platform. We reach a series of platforms at various heights, all within sight of each other. There are wooden weapons here. We'd always talked about constructing things like this, but we never got around to it. One looks like an enormous catapult. Looking down to my right, there is what appears to be a massive rifle. It's wooden, of course, so I don't know what it fires. And there are gaps in the leaves here too. They show us the endless fields beyond, though they are green now, green streaked with gold from the light through the clouds. "To your stations, men!" Wooly suddenly shouts. "And women!" The others salute him, and I feel compelled to do likewise. "Fix up those weapons and defend the treehouse. The first wave will be the farmer. He comes from below. Those are your orders." "Sir, yes, sir," we finally say. I find myself chanting it along with the others, unable to hold back a sudden rush of elation. We run to the various platforms. Mine has one of the wooden rifles on it, but it isn't quite complete. I watch as the others hurriedly fix up their own stations, passing each other tools and lifting planks of wood over their heads. "Tommy!" Jake shouts at me, and I turn to him just in time to catch a wooden wheel he has thrown, recently carved. I furrow my brow and look to the weapon, realizing at once where this next piece has to go. I attach it in place and move aside some of the wooden boards, angling one so as to rest the barrel of the weapon upon it, for a more surer aim, of course. "Bollocks!" Jake shouts suddenly, and we turn to him. The idiot has managed to smack himself in the thumb by the looks of it. We laugh, but Jasmine checks that he's alright. I'm fine, he says. "Get back to your station. The enemy approaches." And the enemy approaches indeed. "Here we go!" My adrenaline surges as a monster rises up behind the hills. A tractor, perhaps? I think at first, but no, it's a behemoth of metal and smoke, chuntering and growling as it rolls through the fields towards us. Two sizzling yellow eyes, glowing in the dusk, stare right at us up here in the tree. "Fire at will," Wooly commands, and the weapons are launched. "What is happening?" a voice asks me inside my head. "Thomas, what are you doing?" But I ignore it. There are more important matters at hand. With one eye closed, carefully aiming, I pull the wooden trigger of the rifle. I feel a surge of recoil as the weapon thunders out a beam of light, like a laser, directly towards the oncoming metal monster. I feel the blast of heat against my face. My hair is blown back from my forehead. "Whoa!" I shout out loud as the beam blasts into the side of the rumbling machine. I hear the cheers of my friends as their own weapons are launched. Further blasts and beams. I fire again. The treehouse shakes and the monster roars. Great black clouds are sent up from the machinery of its body as it stumbles and staggers. And at last, defeated, it alters its course. The rumble of its gears is loud in our ears as it turns aside, fleeing the scene, trundling away across the fields and out of sight. I laugh with elation, but there is no time now to revel in this victory. Lauren has grabbed my sleeve. "Come on," she shouts, dragging me from my station. What is it?" I respond breathlessly. "That was only the first wave, Tommy," Wooly calls from the front of the procession. "And we can't do this without you." So on we race, across first one bridge and then the next. And the second bridge is far, far longer than the others. It stretches over a great yawning chasm of leaves and branches. It swings and creaks in the wind. And it's a long, long way down. The group falters. "I can't do this," Jasmine mutters, paled and shaking her head at the bridge's beginning. "I can't do it." "Yes, you can," I find myself saying, looking into her face, reassuring her with my expression. "Nothing can stop you. You've got this." She bites her lip and then nods, and we set out together across the bridge. The second we've all stepped foot onto it, however, that's when the storm begins. Like we're in a wind tunnel, almost. "Hold on!" Wooly roars above the rising gale, his trademark woolly jacket trying to escape from his shoulders. The storm brings with it streaks of pocket lightning. All around us, that crackling in the air, the lightning flashes against the leaves. Bursts of different colored flames leap up all around us as we run the length of this swinging bridge. Fire, water, air. It becomes harder to see, but the others are all still there. "Hang tight!" Lauren cries out, gripping to the sides of the bridge and turning away from a sudden, cyclonic barrel of rain, blasting around us and drenching us through. The tree rumbles and the bridge shakes. Beset by tremors, it feels like it could collapse at any moment. "Keep pressing forwards!" Jake shouts, and we do. The group continues its advance through the elements, huddled together, and there, through the water and storm, is the opposite side, the next platform. Wooly steps off first and helps us all onto it, and we leave the thunder behind as we start to push through the leaves. Pushing through, deeper and deeper into the canopy as the noise of the storm begins to fade behind us. "You guys still there?" Jasmine calls out as it grows darker and darker. "We're all still here. Follow my voice," Wooly replies, and we continue to push aside the walls of leaves, heading further and further into the treehouse, until suddenly the leaves all clear. We stumble out as a five, still immersed in darkness, and our breathing echoes around the space. The sounds of the storm are distant now, a faint, backing rumble. A beat passes, and the rumble rises into a round of applause. "It's wave 3! It's a trap!" Jake exclaims as lights appear before us. Great mechanical thuds and judders as they blink into life. Blinding and bright and burning, I can feel their heat against my skin. I can feel it drying the rain from my clothes. We are standing on a wooden stage. The lights before us multiply into dozens, then into hundreds. Hundreds of pairs of glowing eyes, watching, judging, staring through the darkness, all around. Beneath the watchful eyes, it's just like before, All those years ago, this is how it felt. I can feel my throat starting to close up. I can feel the panic rising. I cannot remember what to say. There's something I need to say to defeat these intruders. But what is it? What are my words? Wooly steps forward, unaffected like the rest of us by this spell, this twisted enchantment. This treehouse is ours, not yours. You will never take it from us, here? You will never truly take it, for we will never truly leave. He looks back to me, his eyes fierce in the reflection of the lights. Right, Tommy? Isn't that right? And he is. He is right. I say so out loud. I join my words to his. This place is ours, I cry out, defiant. This is our home, and this is magic. This magic is ours, and you are not welcome. The eyes widen in rage. The heat increases, but only for the briefest of moments. I shield my face, but watch as the eyes retreat. As one by one, they disappear back into the darkness, as the cool of the air returns. And already my friends have begun to move, onwards to the next platform. The final traces of light from the eyes have revealed the door in the wooden wall to our right, a passageway through the treetop. Jasmine pauses at the entrance to this passage and looks back at me. Come on, Tommy. We can't go on without you. I nod, determined to drive on. I reach out for her and she pulls me through the passage. We stumble for a moment in the dark until at last the shadows disperse and we are once again surrounded by deep, dark, fresh green of the treehouse leaves and branches. Ahead are a series of platforms. Built into these platforms are what looks like tunnels in the wood. They look almost like slides. Slides. I slip and stumble where I stand. Glancing down reveals that water has begun to rush past our feet. The scent of chlorine rises thick into the surrounding air. Step carefully, Lauren warns as Jake slips over into the rushing stream. Wooly grabs him by the collar and hauls him back up before he falls. How is this possible? How is any of this possible? I murmur out loud, grabbing onto a branch as the water flows past us. It pours from the platforms and between the branches. Some of it rushes across the wood and down the tunnel-like slides ahead. What are you talking about? Wooly replies, grinning. The treehouse is under attack, Tommy. Weren't you listening? And with this, his eyes widen. His mouth drops open as he stares behind me, past my shoulder. The others do the same, and I swivel where I stand, still holding on to the branch for support. A monster approaches. Pushing aside the branches, he has to stoop as he is so tall. With every step, he kicks up great splashes and waves of the running water. His eyes are like red coals in the gloom. His lips are long, much longer than they should be, and a shining silver whistle hangs from his neck on a chain. It clinks with every one of his great and heavy steps. The platform rattles and water is sent rushing in all directions. He turns to us, bellowing loud in a foreign tongue, and he increases his pace, charging right towards us. Quickly, Lauren shouts, down into the tunnel. She grabs me and hauls me back, and we support each other as we run and splash through the stream, careful not to slip, ducking beneath branches as we hear them snap behind us. Go, 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 Wooly shouts with a mad laugh, urging us down into the slide. Lauren goes first, and then Jasmine and Jake. I shoot one last look behind me as I leap down into the tunnel, and I see the monster slip and stumble in the rushing water. He roars and crashes down with a rumble, vanishing out of sight as the slide turns a sharp, sudden corner. Wooly is not far behind. I see him laughing and whooping, the water rushing past. I turn to look the way I am going, picking up speed as the tunnel and the water shoot past. The echoing laughs of the others reverberate around me, building to shouts of triumph as the slide ends with a great and torrential splash. Jake pushes his fringe out of his eyes and raises his hand for a high five. I meet it and grin as he helps me up. Lauren runs over, laughing, shouting and pulling me quickly out of the way as Wooly zooms down just behind me, splashing us all yet again. We spend the next few minutes just screwing around, splashing in the water as the leaves rustle softly in the breeze. Lauren at last draws back and looks down at her watch. The level of light has changed. She is highlighted in beams of silver that have broken through the branches. We all are. "It'll be time now, guys," she says, looking around. "We did it." Wooly stands suddenly to attention, brining his hand up into a salute. We all do likewise. "Stand down, men and women. Mission accomplished." "Sir, yes, sir," we respond, and he turns, pushing aside some leaves to reveal a ladder, moss-lined but in otherwise great condition. Up he goes, rung by rung, clambering up through the tree. Then Jake, then Jasmine, then Lauren. She looks down to make sure that I'm following. "Time for the big finale, Tommy." "Yes," I replied. "Right behind you." And I put my hands up onto the ladder and begin my climb. Up we go, us 5, through the treehouse, higher and higher. The light filters through where it can, illuminating the tips and edges of the leaves in that glorious, shining silver. Higher and higher until we break through the very top of the tree itself. I breathe in a deep breath of fresh night air and look up to the sky, feeling the natural breeze against my skin. There are perches up here, in bows of the tallest branches, natural seats and resting places, and the group spreads out just a little, finding their places, settling in, breathing easy and enjoying our victory. I take a seat next to Lauren. "Lauren," I begin. "What's—" "Shh," she interrupts, smiling. "It's about to start." She turns to look up to the sky, and so I do likewise. It's beautiful. The moon is bright, the stars glimmer. A shooting speck flits across my field of vision, and soon the stars are joined by great bursts of color. Fireworks, of course, like I've never seen them before. Great, dazzling, dreamlike explosions of red and green and gold, tipped with fiery orange or with shining silver like the leaves. They whiz and spin and cascade like spirals within spirals. They are celebration incarnate. And you know, thinking about it, perhaps I have seen fireworks like this before. This is exactly how they appeared to me, once upon a time. A warmth rushes over me, a familiar glow. Lauren reaches out for my hand, and I take it in mine. The fireworks burst and shine, and just like that, I feel myself start to cry. I cannot stop it, and the tears flow. Lauren squeezes my hand just a little bit tighter. "I'm sorry," I mutter, and then louder so that everyone can hear. "I'm sorry, all of you. I'm so sorry. I wasn't there. I wasn't there for you. Things could have been different." They're beside me now, and I'm sobbing. I remember it all. I remember why I came. The note, the marriage contract between Lauren and I. And I remember how they all died, the ghosts that now surround me. When we were 11 years old, we'd all signed up for a school trip in the winter. We were due to spend 3 nights at a campsite, a school excursion, fun, games, camping, expeditions, and all that good stuff. But I knew how Lauren felt about me by then. I was struggling with my own feelings. I was just a scared, dumb, young kid, and I couldn't face it. I couldn't face the intimacy of almost 4 days together in such an exciting environment, and I knew the others would just egg me on and pressure me, so I faked being sick. I faked an illness and convinced my parents to let me stay home. So that's what I did. I just stayed home because I didn't want to see my friends, because I didn't want to spend this trip with them, because I just didn't want to go. Well, they never ended up going either, as it turned out. The bus driver was not qualified. It was a parent volunteer. A volunteer with little experience driving in the snow and on ice. I'll spare you the details, but as I sat playing video games in my living room, the bus went through the rail on a cliffside road. It was a steep drop, and half the passengers were killed. Amongst them were Jasmine, Jake, Wooly, and Lauren. "I should have been there," I choke out, looking between them. "I wasn't even really sick. I was just pretending. I made it all up because I was a coward." Wooly laughs, shakes his head. "You think we've never faked being sick before, bro?" Jasmine squeezes my arm. "Tommy, I did it all the time. I should have been with you. We should have been together, I splutter. Jake crosses his arms as the fireworks explode overhead. And done what, Tommy? Stopped the bus? Driven us to safety? He grins. You were right where you were supposed to be, and we were glad for it. I turn to Lauren. Lauren, I begin, but that's just the thing. Where to start? I draw the note from my pocket, the crumpled 20-year-old contract. It's still there, and impossibly undamaged. I look from the note to Lauren. I have so much to say. How do I even begin to? It's okay, Tommy, she replies gently, taking the contract from me. I know, and it's okay. She looks at the others. There's nothing for us to forgive, you know, but just for your sake, we forgive you. We forgive you, Tommy. I'll come back here, I tell them, and I mean it. I'll come back here, all the time, to the treehouse. Lauren has pulled a marker from her pocket. She sticks her tongue out to one side as she starts writing something down onto the note. The others look between themselves. No, Tommy, Jasmine replies with a sad smile. You won't. You can't. You can't come back here again. Not like this. This is it, bro, Wooly says quietly. It's been a ride. He reaches out his hand, and I grasp it. Thanks for helping to defend this treehouse, Tommy, says Jake. For one last time. Lauren folds the note and stuffs it back into my hand. She leans over and kisses me on the cheek. It's time to say goodbye now, Tommy, she murmurs as the lights of the fireworks flicker above the treetop. Goodbye? I repeat, shaking my head. That's right, Tommy, she says. Goodbye. And so, as the leaves shimmer with the stars in the breeze, beneath the glow and dance of the reds and greens and golds above, I say it, one last time. Goodbye, and happy birthday, Lauren. She smiles. Happy birthday, Tommy. It's been 6 months since then. I walk hand in hand with my partner down that track through the fields. The flowers are out in bloom, and the sky is a gorgeous crystal blue. That's it there, I tell her, pointing over to the tree. It's a little bit busier now than it was before. It still stands tall, rising up from the fresh green grasses all around. But it looks today far less alone. There's a gang of kids playing on it. A couple of cars are parked nearby. One of the cars is open, and planks of wood stick out from the back. A general murmur of voices forms a backing track to the kids' shouts and whoops of glee. Parents are chatting amongst themselves. A couple of dads are working on fixing up the treehouse's ladder. One of them passes a plank up to a girl in the branches above. It's tough to tell from this distance, but it looks like there might be a couple new hearts carved into the treehouse's trunk. I think about the contract I made with Lauren 20 long years ago. I think about the additions she made. Once I'd tearfully descended the ladder that final time, returned it into my roughed-up work clothes at the base of the great tree trunk, I'd remembered the note and opened it up to read. This document is null and voided, she had added to the bottom. I, Lauren Bright, hereby release Thomas Evans from this here contract. May he be free, and may he be happy. Hey? Hello? I tune back into my surroundings. I remember where I am. My partner squeezes my hand. Tom, what's up? She asks. You look like you were miles away. Are you okay? I consider. Yeah, I reply. Yeah, I'm okay. And we carry on along our way.